Hey YouTube, it's the Cousin Dan again. This time I'm going to show you how to use a product called Glaze Coat to create a very glossy finish on a countertop like this. There are several different companies that make this stuff. Today I'm going to be using the one from Famo Wood. It's called Glaze Coat. But what you're looking for is an epoxy high gloss finish. A lot of times they will say things like 70 coats of varnish equals 1 coat of this product. So what you're looking for is a very thick finish epoxy clear coat. You'll also want some paper or plastic so that you can spread it out on the floor or on the countertop on this side in this case. Tape it down with some painter's tape and catch all of the drippings that you'll see here shortly. You'll also want a paintbrush for the edges. I used a foam brush, but a paintbrush works just fine. You're going to see a couple shots from when I first stained this countertop, but let's back this project up, start at the beginning, and I will show you how it's done.
Epoxy finishes and adhesives always come in two distinct parts, a hardener and a resin. The chemistry of these compounds must be precise in order to achieve a lasting finish. Make sure you read the instructions carefully. And speaking of chemistry, you'll want to put on some gloves. This epoxy works in a 50-50 mixture. The easiest way to achieve this mixture is to buy some cheap disposable plastic buckets with graduated markings printed on the side. Decide how much of the product you will need for your project and then pour an equal amount of the hardener and resin into 2 different containers. Now pour the contents of the hardener container into the resin container. This is what we generally know as the point of no return. Once these 2 chemicals mix together, they will start solidifying over time. This specific product requires that you stir this container for 6 minutes before pouring it into a third container and stirring for another 6 minutes exactly. Again, make sure you read the instructions on the product you buy. As you finish stirring, make sure the surface is free of dust. Now you're ready to go. Don't overthink it. Pour the contents of the third bucket into roughly the middle of the surface you're trying to apply it to so that it doesn't immediately roll over the sides. Now you're going to need some kind of spreader. I'm using a Bondo brand spreader for automotive purposes. Just push the product around to get a relatively even coat approaching the edges. An assistant is really helpful here to brush the edges to avoid forming drip patterns. You need to let some of the product go over the side in order to coat the sides, but as you can see, this is why it's so important to put down some paper or plastic beneath these edges. As you apply this stuff, you will see some bubbles. This is okay as we will remove them in the next step. You will need a blowtorch, a heat gun, a hairdryer, or just your lungs in order to remove these bubbles. Be careful not to apply your heat source to one spot for too long as you can scorch the product. If you see any hairs or other debris in the product at this point, now is the time to get it out before it starts hardening. At this point, it will take about 20 minutes until it becomes hard enough that bubbles cannot form. So during this time, watch for development of bubbles and brush any drips off the edges. The manufacturer of this product says to wait about 72 hours for full cure before placing dishes or other things on top. I waited a little bit longer. In the end, you're left with an absolutely beautiful finish.
Well, that's all there is to it. It really is pretty simple with this product. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions at all, you can reach me in the comments section below or with a direct message. Thanks for watching The Cousin Dan, and if you want to see other videos like this, you can click on these links.